So let me give you some numbers. According to a 2022 Pew Research Center survey, roughly 30% of adults over 50 in this country are single. I heard you, she's single. Our next guest, Carmindy Boyer, is one of them. The 53-year-old beauty guru is going viral after sharing an inspiring message to singles on social media that's now been viewed more than 4 million times. Take a look.
So yeah, I'm 53, completely single by choice, and also no children by choice. Love my life, have incredible friends, and travel is the secret to my happiness. I do not wait around for some man to show up to travel with me or to explore places with me. I do it on my own and have so much fun, and usually take friends with me, meet friends wherever I go. It's the secret to my personal happiness. So if you're out there whining and complaining that you can't find a guy and your life is not worth living, then you better knock it off and rethink the way you're living your life, because you got one shot, babies. So have fun and enjoy it while you can, single or not.
Carmindy's got the crowd going, and she joins us now. I love this video. Clearly, the audience does for many reasons, because let me just say that this is not about single people versus people who are in relationships. It's not a us versus them.
No, it's about choice. We all have a choice, and not one is better than the other, but it's about living in your truth.
Yeah.
And then also, the reason why I shared that message was that other people out there didn't have to just believe the narrative that they're taught. Right. It's in you. You feel it. I felt it, and that's why I wanted to share it.
Oh, I felt it. I mean, I've told this story before. I remember in my 30s being in a relationship with someone I despised. Yeah. But I didn't want to break up because I didn't want to go to my friends and say I had another bad turning.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you start to feel that people are, what's wrong with her?
Right. It's somehow your fault.
Somehow my fault.
Love comes in so many forms.
Right.
Pets, friends, families. I'm an auntie. So it's so wonderful.
There are so many people in who came with a friend that is the first person you'd call if something went wrong.
Yes.
That's love.
That's what
someone
love
who has
is.
your back. So I'm so curious because you start on What Not to Wear, TLC's What Not to Wear.
Yep.
You have your own cosmetic line, Carmindy Beauty. You were part of our beauty bar show. Again, this notion that your success is the replacement for family.
Right, which is ridiculous. Yeah. Because there are so many women out there that have, both family and career. I just knew at such a young age, I was 9 or 10 years old, and I just had a knowing that I didn't want kids. And I was
how old were you when you first told that out loud? Because I think a lot of women don't want to say that out loud because, again, the notion is that you're selfish, you're an awful person, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I knew at 10 years old.
You knew.
I just had a feeling, like people were playing with dollies at that age. I just knew I wasn't going to have kids. And I came from a very traditional, loving family. And I told my parents, and they're like, good, don't.
When you date now, how do you have that conversation?
It's the first thing I bring up.
You do?
I say I never want children, and also I don't want to get married.
Oh, so you tell them up front, I don't want to have children.
That's right.
And I don't want to marry you.
That's right. Yeah.
Have you had men say, then I'm out?
Yes, it's funny. It's odd because when you're young and some people say, I want to get married and have kids, the guys run the other direction.
Yeah.
When you're older and say, I don't want to have children or get married, they think, what's wrong with you, and they run the other direction. It's very interesting.
It is interesting because so often when a couple have been together, they'll say, oh, well, he didn't want to marry her, or, he didn't want her. And it's like, no, you don't want that.
Why did we give the men the choice? Right? Why do we have to wait for them to ask us to marry us?
Right.
Ask us to go on a date. It's up to us to do that and make that decision. It's our lives together, right? So why does it always have to be in their hands? It could be in our hands as well.
Carmindy's not going anywhere. We're going to continue this conversation. The scrutiny single people, not just women, are experiencing when they choose to not have children. After the break, I love that. So we've been having this conversation about single and child-free women who are being judged just all over social media these days. Just go into the search engine. You will be shocked by some of the things that folks are saying these days. Our next guest, Dr. Chris Marsh, says she is on a mission to destigmatize singlehood with her book. It's called The Love Jones Cohort, which tackles the misconceptions and reality of single women. The title is based, of course, on the iconic movie that I could watch every day of my life, Love Jones, which shows us the life of young, single, child-free professionals navigating an unconventional modern dating scene. Emily Hart is still with us. Carmindi Boyer are with us as well. And please welcome Dr. Marsh to the conversation. Thank you so much. I love that the movie Love Jones is the jump-off point. Why is that the perfect movie, you feel, to capture where things are?
Because if we think of like the quintessential couple, we think of the Cosbys on the Huxtables on the Cosby Show. But Love Jones is when we started to really see this demographic shift in characters, away from married couples to young Black professionals who weren't married and didn't have any children. So I wanted to write a whole book about this.
You wanted to write, what can we learn? I mean, I know we keep saying single women. There are single men in the audience as well, but the fire, if you will, is directed at women. We know that.
Yes, absolutely. There are men that are in my book, but there are a lot of women that are single and living alone. And like you said, I really wanted to write the book because I wanted to destigmatize singlehood. You have people that are in relationships that are abusive, toxic, unfulfilling, and unrewarding simply because they don't want to hold the title of single.
Right. And that's true. Carmindi, you were saying the audience doesn't realize you were one time married.
One time. One was enough.
One was enough. And that you didn't want to be married.
I didn't want to be married. I never wanted to, but I felt the pressure. People all around me were getting married, having kids, and I felt like, oh gosh, society pressure. And so I made that choice, and I realized through the marriage, this isn't for me, and I chose to leave it. And once I did, I was like, now I'm free. I knew it, and I finally went with it, and I've never been happier.
You know, it's interesting, it's true. And again, this is not an anti-marriage thing. Like,
right.
You're not anti-marriage, it's just not for you.
It's just not for me. My brother's happily married with kids. My friends are. Good for them. It's just not right for me.
Doctor, you know, why is the word single still such a hard thing to wrap your brain around? For some people.
For some people,
yeah.
Right? Because society is set up to be partnered or to be married. So when you say that you're single, it's almost a deficit. You're lacking in something. And so the book, again, is trying to say, no, we can celebrate our singleness. Yeah. We can stand confidently in our singleness. And the conversation is slowly changing, but it's taken a moment.
Why does it anger people when you see a video like Emily where she's traveling and having fun, and rather than saying, you go, girl, or write down where she went, they're angry?
You know, it's so funny because I tell people, I wish married people were more honest about marriage before we got married. They wait till you get married, then they're like, let me tell you about marriage, right? That part, right?
Yeah.
But if they would have told us on their seat, I think people are in these relationships that they don't want to be in. And the fact that we don't have to answer to anybody and we don't have to talk to anybody if we don't want to, they wish they could be in that space, and because they cannot.
It's interesting, because when you say that people will come to a single person and say, why are you single? No one asks a married person, why are you married?
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the things I say in the book. After reading the book, I hope you are just as likely to ask somebody, why are you married?
Right.
As you are to ask somebody, why are you single? And when we ask the single people, again, we're privileging marriage. I want to go on record because I get hate mail. I appreciate your story.
You get hate mail too?
Do I? Listen, I appreciate your story. I really appreciate your story, Emily. But I get hate mail all the time saying, oh, you're saying that we don't need men. I was like, if you read the book, I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying, let's go past the conversation of why aren't you married? Why don't you have children? Let's talk about what singles are doing.
Right.
I met a guy just the other day and I said, I wrote a book about singles and how like they buy houses. He's like, single people buy houses? I was like, you need to read my book.
My God, because it is so true. One of the things that I used to always say, I didn't like when people say, well, having a child made me a better person. Because I thought, well, if you don't have a kid, are you just going to go around being a crappy person?
Right.
Like somehow that the child made you better. I would hope that, and if that's true, we wouldn't have children in foster care. We wouldn't have children who need adopting. So,
absolutely. But I think Tracy Ellis Ross said something a couple of days ago, and she was talking about how, like, even though we don't have children, we still take on mothering roles.
Yeah.
So just don't short-sight us and assume because we don't have biological children, we don't step into some of those roles.
Mm-hmm.
But what also is really important is that think about how strong we have to be single women. Because there's so many set of assumptions that people make about us.
Right.
And so for us to be strong, to be out here, suggests that we really are strong, we really are celebrating ourselves, and we really have so much to offer.
I
because
have to tell you, that made me emotional because I remember going into, I had a health scare, and they said, in case of emergency, and I'm like, I'm 40 and putting down my mom. But I was like, but that's the reality. It's like my case of emergency at 40 was still my mom. And by the way, it still is my mom. It still is my mom, for real. I think it's an enlightening conversation. Like I said, we dig into these things on our show because we are a talk show, and this is about life. And every day someone is facing this complex conversation of who am I? And does that title of mother, single, married, does that define me, or does my heart and how I live my life define me?
Right.
And I think it's how you live your life, and I appreciate you all so much. So thank you so much. The book from Dr. Mark is called The Love Jones Cohort. It's available now. Thank you to Emily, Carmindi. You are brave women and women I just would love to hang out with. I'm just going to tell you that.